Well, welcome and good day, everyone. We are, of course, glad you guys could join us again for another Talk It Over. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Good to have you back. It's always fun. I love these conversations.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a great way to, of course, unpack the messages that we get to listen to, watch each and every week. And again, it's an opportunity for you guys to kind of participate with us. So let us know kind of your thoughts on what we're going to talk about today, or even jump in your own life group, start one, and dive again into these questions, which of course is all provided by LifeChurch, and we get to discuss these each and every week, which is always a lot of fun. Continuing in our series of miracles, which has been very good so far.
It's been excellent.
I've enjoyed the different speakers each week, which has been quite nice. Again, it just brings a different perspective through those, which I've quite enjoyed.
And as I'm getting older, it's nice because you can think through the person to remember the series, because there's something new to remember.
That is. It's you think about the person who's speaking, and that can certainly make it easier. Because I'm thinking about last week's with was it Herbert?
Yeah.
Herbert. It was a unique name, and I just that's one of those things I picked up on. And again, it's just I remembered his face, the name, and I'm like, yes, and the message follows that, right?
And see, as a healthcare professional, I'm thinking, wash those hands, guys, wash those hands.
Yes, exactly. So the message today is finding peace in your panic, which I think a lot of us tend to panic or find ourselves very anxious or stressed in situations that can, of course, be difficult for us, but through that we can work through those. But before we dive into those, let's do a little catch up here. How things been going for you overall, maybe the last week? Anything exciting, new?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been here, so I'm excited to be back. I've launched my own business, and this month is where we've actually hit our milestone, so it's been really exciting. I'm up to some full-time hours, and just seeing God's blessing and bringing families, and I just thank the team that helped renovate and get things ready, and we're able to pray over my space. And I was thinking about that this week, about how I want that place to be a place where families find hope and healing. And I know with your story with your son, that just, it's really hard in some of those moments, and you're so concerned as a parent and you don't know where to turn. I just love being that light where people can find, and I can reassure them that, I've got some things I can help you with, and let's just go. So it's been good. It was a pretty good lead up to the launch, and then just being on the construction side and helping with that. It was neat to see what a few of us can do and come together to really turn a space in a very different direction than what it was. Yes, and it was really ugly, people. I've seen it before. It was being very kind. It was really ugly.
And just being able to convert that space into something that's quite usable. Yeah. And it's nice to see that and just be involved in that process, of course. So really, really, really neat. Yeah, it's been up and down. We of course have had a renovation which was just finished. It's been a month we've been out of our house, which for that first week it's exciting for the adventure, but by the time you're in that last week at a hotel, it's time to move on. We need more space. We need space away from each other. It's fine for a short period, but having just space where you aren't on top of each other all the time can be nice. So I enjoy the space now, being back at home and moved in has been really good. Getting to enjoy that new main floor, which has been nice, and
it looks amazing.
Some of the additions we've made to the kitchen and that, so that's been very nice, and being able to be back home has been really nice. It's reduced that stress we've had through that, so that's been good. And Emmett's just been up and down with cold and not feeling well, and it's been a couple weeks of that now, and so he's been up and down, and it's just been it's seeming to kind of go around a little bit. The people we've talked to, it's usually one person in the family's had something for about a month now. So
this week I got hit hard with lots of cancellations of kids being sick, and before March break I had a bunch of kids sick. So it's been a difficult month, but I don't think the weather we've had here has been great. It's been plus 10 and Canada.
minus 5, and it's just been up and down, and snow and rain, and it's just the perfect breeding ground for that stuff to just get passed around. And but we're getting through it.
We are getting
the weather
through
looks like it's finally going to start to turn into the spring, which is nice. We're looking forward to that, of course. So so let us know, guys, how your week's been, how things been going with you guys. Anything new and exciting, or maybe there's something been difficult, and maybe some prayer, something we could pray for you. Please let us know in the comments. We would love to hear from you guys. So yeah, this series of miracles and finding peace in panic. Excellent message, very direct this week on what Pastor Craig was discussing. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it, please check out our YouTube page at LifeNorth.Church. Everything's posted there. If you like, subscribe, you'll get notified when all that stuff's posted, so you can stay current to all the series, plus all the previous series we've had, and continue. You can go back, rewatch, start watching some of the older series, and just continue to get more out of what God has for you. So Craig this week kind of discussed two things we need to remember in a storm. And he's talking about a storm as in things that are difficult or hard, something we're going through in life. The first one we have to remember is you are in a storm with his presence. And he's just talking about God, that God's presence is always with you in those difficult moments. And you're in the storm for his purpose. And I think that's the more difficult one to actually grasp. Is really thinking about, no, God has got me here for a reason. There's a reason I'm going through this. And there's something that I'm going to discover, find out, but it's not going to be until maybe after you've gone through it. But trying to focus on that has been hard. I know I've had difficulties with that, trying to focus on there's a purpose to this, because in those moments, it can be difficult. Yeah. It can be really difficult. He was very straightforward about what he was discussing this week. And I definitely recommend go watch it. There's more he can describe than what I can express just through this. But we don't want to get so caught up in the what of the storm that we forget the who is in the boat. And he's discussing in that story about Jesus and the disciples crossing the lake, and the storm picks up, and stormy weather, and discussing about what that is. And sometimes we forget who's in the boat with us. Why, sometimes we feel alone, but we're really not. There's people with us, but we kind of forget that. So we want to keep that in mind. And yeah, it's just excellent message.
It was a really good message. And I appreciated the visual of the storm and the image of the Sea of Galilee, and how that storm can come out when you've been out on the ocean and you see some of those waves out there. It was like, oh man.
Yeah. And how it had been described that, this was like the pit of despair, that it gobbles up ships and eats men. And I guess in those instances when we experience difficulty or hardship, it can feel like that we're just getting gobbled up. We're getting swallowed into seemingly an endless pit. Yeah. And it can certainly be difficult to get out of those. So we're going to look at our scripture here. We're going to focus on 1 Peter 5, verse 7. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. And he's describing Jesus. God cares for you. And that you can cast that on him. And I think that's really important because, again, it's one of those things I think we forget that God can handle that. We don't have to handle it ourselves, which I think unfortunately we tend to want to handle ourselves. We figure maybe God's too busy for that. We can manage it. And again, we've discussed that before, that we tend to do that from time to time. He was focusing on the story today, again, of the disciples in the boat. They're crossing the lake, and having that trust that God's got a reason. There's a purpose why we're crossing. There's a reason we're all doing it together. And so excellent illustration. Certainly recommend watching.
Yeah, I do too. It's great.
So our first question, we're going to dive a little different off here from the question they've had out, but something, Carolyn, or some things that maybe stress you out or cause you to have stress.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I don't like surprises. Surprises stress me out. Changes in things, or just changing routines, or adding something new to my plate. And I think it's because I have a little bit of issue with being a perfectionist. And my husband loves to change things up, loves to look at things from a different perspective, loves to... And he can sometimes stress me out just because he's so open to looking at things differently and changing it. That being said, that's one of the reasons I fell in love with him, because we did a questionnaire a long time ago about change. Yep. And he's like a visionary and I'm an anchor. So we're good for going to sea because he knows where we're going and I'm going to hold us steady. Yep. But I really do get that anxiety of, oh no, things are changing. How am I going to manage this? How am I going to deal with this? How's this going to impact me? And I think, during COVID, it's been a lot of new. So I also think I'm just a little bit tired of having to think through everyday decisions that normally we never really thought about. It's like, I feel like life is like driving, and I'm a new driver in life, and I have to figure out how to do things over again because so much changed.
Yeah. It certainly threw a wrench in the day-to-day routines that we had, put in place for years. It puts it into like a decision overload where you just kind of almost shut down from just so many decisions. I get that. I think me and my wife are like at that point where we're both just decisioned out.
Especially after a renovation.
We're just decisioned out. We don't have the capacity to continue to make lots of decisions. So we need to find something that's going to help reduce that stress to kind of get that back into a regular rhythm of the routine. I understand. That the last couple of years have been throwing a wrench in how we generally function each and every day. Certainly making it difficult, which I'm sure a lot of us can, of course, touch on in some way, and how that's affected us in day-to-day life. Oh, stressing me out, man. I think the biggest thing that stresses me out is, it's similar, but not quite the same. It's space. So personal space for me is a big one. So when things get changed around in, somewhere where I'm comfortable, which for me, my house is a very comfortable place.
And your kitchen.
Yeah, and things are there, and then when things get moved around and changed, I'm not told, and I walk into something that's very different, that stresses me out. It's like, why are we changing this? I wasn't even acknowledged in the change. Maybe that's more of the trigger, is I wasn't acknowledged in the change or why it was changing. I just come back to change, and it's like, this isn't my space anymore. I find that tends to stress me out a bunch. Less on maybe the decisions and things, plans and things, moving parts, I guess, in that kind of a sense. But physical location, personal space, things like that tend to...
It's funny, because one day I came home from work and Dave had changed our whole kitchen, and I thought I was going to have a coronary. I was so angry. I'm like, and why am I so angry? It's okay to change it. It's actually better, but it was just like...
It's the shock of the change, right?
So that's why I said surprises.
It's that... I don't mind surprises or being surprised. That's fine, but it's that personal space, I find. So putting our kitchen back together was actually not bad. We actually kind of discussed where things were going to go ahead of time before we started moving stuff in, and then once we started unpacking and putting in that, we actually got things in a pretty good space of where we feel it's going to be best for now. I'm sure there'll be changes made, but having that ahead of time, it wasn't just I showed up home and everything's just away, and I haven't been a part of that. So I think that's my stressor for sure. So let us know, guys, what that for you. What's your stressor? Something that really maybe causes you just to be stressed right out. Maybe it's work. Maybe it's a close friend that can maybe stress you out sometimes. Maybe it's like maybe it's like me. Maybe it's a spatial thing when things change without your knowledge. But let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys what that might be. So again, excellent message. Was there a part for you, Carolyn, that was really impactful, something that kind of stood out?
I think for me, just that reminder that God really cares. He's in that storm with me. And I think there are moments in my life where I totally have sensed God there, and I know I can lean into him and seek him out. And then there's other times where I forget and I just go into despair, to be honest with you, where it's just like, I don't see how this is gonna end. I don't know how I'm gonna cope. I don't see how I'm gonna manage with this. And I just really appreciated Craig's analogy of like, no, God's right there with you. He cares for you. He's in it with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. And just that reminder, I need that reminder. I like the part
where you told the story about the lady kind of on staff there and had cancer that was extremely difficult, things that weren't looking very good. And just seeing kind of that step by step as they were going through and praying and believing and knowing God's going to do something, maybe not what that might be, but was going to do something. And then seeing that outcome of it's gone, there's no further treatment, I thought was really, really a powerful story, because again, they know there was a purpose, and she had written down a thing about, looking for the don't forget the who, and looking for that purpose through this, and really, digging deep and believing that, no, there's a purpose to this, there's a reason this is happening, but God's got me, and that's what I need. I thought was really great. And then seeing her daughter, talking about, having that kind of unsure about God at points, not really sure of what's going to happen, to I have to believe fully, because this is a complete miracle. This is something that nothing other than God could have made happen. And seeing her daughter just be, yes, no, this is removed those kind of feelings of God's not always there. So I thought that was, for me, I thought that was really, really impactful, just to see that change in the daughter. And maybe that was the purpose, right? Right. That the purpose was to bring her daughter closer to God through that kind of an experience. So
it reminded me, I think it was Sam who spoke about fishing, and his son had prayed, let's pray because I believe God can help you find it. And they did, right? Just those moments of faith. I remember that one. And I know exactly what I fish, and I know exactly what he's talking about, and how minuscule the chances of that ever even happening are beyond even numbers, because of what it is. So it's amazing what we can experience through those moments of hardship, things that can be difficult, because without those we can't grow, we can't persevere, we can't rely on God, because there would be no reason to without anything difficult, right? Right. Okay, so let's see here. What's an easy way to find or experience peace when you're stressed? That's a good one. Worship for me is a big one. And then seeking people I trust to just listen to me, because I know sometimes my head isn't really matching my heart, and sometimes I just need to talk it out, and I just need people to listen. But worship really can change my heart from panic to just peace. And I think there's just that powerful thing about, there's a worship song that will come on and I'm like, wow. Like I remember when I was listening to the song and this is what God did, right? Sometimes I have my classics that I go back to, because it takes me back to those times where I remember God working significantly. I just really appreciate the power of those memories. Yeah, man, experiencing peace when you're stressed. Yeah, there's a few ways. I tend to, I would say, connect better outside. Just outside, kind of in the quiet. For me, I find is always nice to, find some peace, reduce that stress. I find quietness is one of the big ones for me. Outside has always been the best place for me for that. Whether it's taking, a little walk, just kind of by myself. I can just kind of have that self-dialogue with God, just kind of talking. Not necessarily like a dedicated prayer, but just kind of talking, working through kind of the feelings, the emotions, things that are kind of running through me. Because sometimes I find it hard to express those to a person right away. I can usually come back to it after I've had that, that time to just kind of quiet. So that's always been one for me, is just, that quietness. Fishing has actually been a big part of that. I can just kind of go out and just be, and not have to really think of what's going on around me. I can just kind of focus. It's a different kind of focus. And same with riding my motorcycle is the same thing. It's one of those things where it's not like muscle memory, but it's one of those things where I'm not thinking that I'm actually doing things. It's just happening. And I can be kind of off thinking something else.
Still, of course, focused on my driving, of course, but not having to be making every decision on what I'm doing while I'm riding the bike. I don't know what it is.
It is muscle memory.
It's something different, and it allows my head just to be open, clear, I guess, where I can just kind of sit, and again, that dialogue can go, and I don't have to, be focused on everything around me specifically,
Right. Yeah.
Which has always been, again, it's one of those things for me that's just what it is. Yeah. It's not for everybody, but it is for me. So for you guys, I don't know what that looks like for you guys. Maybe it's sitting and listening to a podcast, getting a message on a podcast. Maybe it's like Carolyn, something like worship, bringing that music, that focus back to what God has for you. Or maybe it's just spending some quiet time by yourself to kind of work through what's, stressing you out, what's bringing that up for you. All right, so we're going to read that Peter 5:7 again. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Now, with that in mind, how do you currently handle your anxiety? What does it look like to cast all your anxiety on God?
My humanness of anxiety is I don't sleep well.
Okay, yep.
So when I'm anxious, I don't sleep well, and I toss and I turn a lot. And what I try to do is distract myself. So binge watch a show, or lose myself in a jigsaw puzzle on my iPad, or playing different versions of solitaire, Sudoku, just where I feel like I'm accomplishing something. Because I think when I'm anxious, I feel helpless.
Okay, yeah.
And so I'm trying to do things that distract me or help me feel like I can accomplish something. But when I slow down, and my life group has been huge when I'm feeling really stressed out, being able to connect with them, to share what I'm really thinking, what's going on. For me, emotion is a big part. Crying is actually a really good way for me to relieve stress, and not like just being honestly authentic, not a horrible desperation cry, but just a like, okay, God, I need you, and I'm scared and I'm feeling overwhelmed, and just praying through tears can really help calm my system and recognize that I can do that. Casting all my cares on God really is that ultimate trust of God. I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't even know how this is going to end, good, bad, or ugly, but I'm going to choose to trust you. It's just that surrender. I call it raising my white flag. And I don't raise it enough to God, and I need to do it more, but I really feel like that's a really good, that I kind of know, I'm at that point where I'm putting everything on God. And, it was funny because John came up last night. We were working on our budget because it's the end of the month. And we were just sharing how God has been moving in our business. And John's like, are you writing this stuff down? And I'm like, no, but I should be journaling. Like, I think that's a good reminder of, don't forget all the blessing God has done. When you're anxious, to go back and remember.
Yeah, we kind of discussed that in actually our life group. We were discussing about the kind of like miracles, things that have been happening, and what do those look like. And we tend to forget some of the things because we just don't process it and store it the same way. And having it written down or saved in a document on a device of some form, something that you can go back and look at to refresh your memory, and then be able to tell that story of what was happening, because how important it is. And so as a life group, we're trying to work on what does that look like about sharing those things regularly, so we don't forget the story, we don't forget the miracle, we don't forget any of it, because it's so easy to forget those things, we just need to keep them in a place where we can revisit.
Because it does, when you remember back, right, it takes away that, I remember that felt really overwhelming, and God worked through that, right? Just don't forget. God is working.
You don't want to forget, but it's so easy for us to forget is the thing, right? So, man, anxiety for me, oh man, that's been a big thing throughout the years for me. Probably from like grade 7 on, it's been one of those things that's just been a very strong force for me. And for me, the anxiety is paralyzing. It basically just shuts me off. And I get to the point where if the anxiety comes up, I literally shut down. I don't talk, I don't speak, I shut down completely.
You freeze.
I freeze. And that's just, it's a paralyzing feeling, because it's like, I know this is not how I want to deal with this. This isn't what I want. And yet I feel helpless in that moment where I can't do anything. I'm just shut down. And yeah, it's extremely difficult. And if you've never experienced anxiety, it's hard to explain it until you do. And it can be hard. And that's how I've dealt with it for as long as I can remember, is that I just shut off. That's what it is. And so trying to look at, what does that look like about, casting it all on God? What does that really look like? And that's something, again, I've been working on, and how to remove that from myself so that doesn't happen. And again, a lot of it comes back to, in those moments, prayer. Praying to God for help, for assistance to get me through this. Because I know I can't, because that's what I've experienced. I can't get through it myself. I just can't. So praying through that, helping, I've had moments where it's been like, it's okay. It's temporary. What's causing the anxiety is only temporary. This isn't forever. This isn't your life. This isn't who I created you to be. This is a temporary. And through that, again, through that prayer, those moments where, that's what's being told to me. It's like, okay, no, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Take a breath. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. And sometimes that's the cue, is just take a breath. Just take a breath, relax for a second. And usually it starts to clear up. I can usually then, okay, no, it's fine. It's okay. We get through. It's temporary. It's not, right? Yeah. So for me, that's what it's looking like. And again, it's that full trust. And again, that's a constant work for me, is continuing to trust more. Yeah. As again, I see those small steps in working through dealing with the anxiety. God's been there to help me through the anxiety. So just continuing again to trust Him more, to cast all of it on Him when those moments come up. Because again, it's so easy to fall back to previous habits, things that we've had, causing us to go back to our old ways of just freeze. And that doesn't help me, doesn't help anybody around me. It is what it is. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to the different parts of anxiety that we've discussed. And I certainly urge you to continue to talk to people, trusted friends, people around you when those moments arise. Pray, ask God for the help and the guidance to get through those moments, because they are difficult. They are hard. It's not easy to come past some of that stuff. No. So that's what I encourage you guys. I don't know what that looks like for you, for your anxiety, how you deal with things, but please let us know. Maybe we can be praying for you to help you get through those anxious moments. And again, the more prayer we have, the more it does. So let us know, guys, how does that look like for you? Because again, we would love to hear from you guys. Man, we fly through this time like crazy.
I know, it's hard to believe.
we are actually at the end of our time here together, and it just flies by so fast. We always have great conversations, and I always enjoy it. So of course, we want to thank you guys again for joining us. And just thank you. We appreciate you guys being here with us, being a part of what we do each and every week. And again, I want to encourage you guys to either join a life group, start a life group. It's very easy. You, two friends, you can find all these questions on LifeChurch, and you can go through them with friends, people and dive deeper into everything that we, of course, discuss and get different perspectives, which I find really great in our life groups. Yeah. Those different perspectives can really help us understand maybe something that we were having trouble understanding. So again, I encourage you guys to please go do that and catch up on all, of course, the episodes of each message on our YouTube page at LifeNorth.Church. Everything is there. Like, subscribe. You'll get notified when we have new ones of these coming up. And of course, we want to thank our tech team getting this all available, ready for you guys each and every week. And of course, we want to remember, whoever finds God, finds life.